Hello, this is Alex Calvo Garcia. You're listening to the Iron Hour podcast.
So, Iron fans, this is another episode of the Iron Hour podcast. And just in case you've been living in the cave, it's fresh off the back, our usual Thursday night recording slot, fresh off the back of an excellent 3-1 win away at York. We've got an action-packed podcast for you here, but before I do a deep dive into the content, very, very happy to say I'm joined by the Italian stallion, everybody's bald bearded favourite, Marco. How are you doing?
I've been better. The dreaded man flu's got a hold of me, but
I bet Melissa's really sympathetic.
yeah, no, definitely not. But I passed a late fitness test, and I'd say I'm podding on about 30% fitness. But yeah, the things I do. So yeah, no, I'm after last night, it's adrenaline's getting me through it.
That's the spirit. So it's not going to be like Danny White, or you're away at Southend. You're not going to be in the starting lineup, and then 5 minutes later, you're going to be taken ill. You're going to be dragged out of the office.
Well, I don't know. You know what internet's like, but or it could be worse. We went to have Gareth put on a power cut, so fingers crossed we're not in the same situation.
Yeah, you've robbed the punchline there, because I was about to say we were due to be joined by everybody's favourite Iron Army as well, but unfortunately, Gareth has had a power cut. It was news to me because I didn't realise they had electricity in Doncaster.
It's all about uploading the vlogs. You take off the electric.
Yeah, forget Bitcoin and all of that. It's Gareth's phone plugged into the circuit. It's just blown up. So unfortunately, we don't think he's going to be able to join us. But I suppose we should give a big shout out to the electrician that's currently in his house trying to sort it.
Yeah, very true. Hopefully.
Speaking of shout outs, as always, want to give a big thanks to our sponsors as well. Best Blanks Wholesale, Hole in the Wand, and given last night, I dare say it was a big day for Hole in the Wand. Very much the Scunthorpe York. It was the Phil Pinder derby, so I'm sure he's very much enjoying it. No Film, and also AC Videography and Photography. So thank you very, very much to all of our sponsors for helping us put on so many podcasts this season with the midweek games coming thick and fast. Thank you to everybody who submitted their questions. We will get onto them shortly. We're going to try and get through as many as we possibly can. We'll use some of them as jumping off points. So, for example, obviously, Marco, there were 2 new signings in the Irons squad last night. So we've got something from Tom Shucksmith here, who says, it's not a question, just a statement you can discuss. Rory Mahadi's incredible performance in his first professional game against one of the league's top teams was truly remarkable. So let's use that comment from Shucky as a bit of a jumping off point. 2 new signings last night. What did you make of them?
Yeah, so obviously we'll start with Mahadi, which again, if we're offending anyone Scottish,
good.
We're assuming it's Mahadi, as it sounds the most Scottish. But yeah, no, it sort of got mentioned or leaked that a Premier League goalkeeper was coming in on an emergency loan. We wasn't aware it was going to obviously be Mahadi, as we.
Can I just say, forget a goalkeeper on an emergency loan. This is a sexy transfer from the US of A. Andy Barraclough, skiving work. Look at that. He's already looking tanned. Barra, how are you doing, handsome?
I'm dressed for the manager's job. Well, I don't think there's one going at the minute, is there?
Definitely not.
Maybe the York job?
Maybe, yeah. Good well be. I can't stay long, but middle of the working day, I thought I'd make a cameo.
Okay, right. Well, let's milk this cameo for all it's worth, baby. Marco was just talking about the excellent performance from Rory Mahadi. We had a comment from Tom Shucksmith as well. Obviously, Barra, when new goalkeepers come in, obviously he's only 19. They're coming from academy football, and the quality might be high, but it's very, very different to when you've got 7,000 in a big league game. You're playing against grown men. How do you think he did?
He did exceptionally well, didn't he? It's interesting that we signed him on loan because Butler was alluding to the fact that we were going to go for an experienced keeper. Now, again, hard to know if the mind games, bit of kidology going on, or if we landed on a keeper we hadn't quite planned to acquire. I'm not quite sure what the conclusion is to that one, to be honest with you. But no, I thought he handled the situation really well. Basics done right, come for his crosses, distribution seemed pretty spot on. And the biggest testament to any goalkeeper is how do the defenders interact and behave around him. And I thought there was no difference. I thought two centre-backs looked as assured as they have done all season.
Yeah, absolutely. And I thought, particularly in the first half, actually, there was a lot of encouragement from behind the goal. You could see the supporters were really wanting him to do well. It's not often you get to the 1st of October and you've got a 4th different goalkeeper in your squad already. So really, really good to see that. Marco, just a quick word on the second signing, Westbrook, midfielder from Doncaster. Bit more unexpected than the goalkeeper, perhaps.
Yeah, definitely. I will just go back to Mahadi in 1 second. I think 2 key points. Obviously, I know a lot of people aren't a fan, myself included, but that signing doesn't happen if we're not in that Premier League Cup. So I think it's a really good chance to show how we can make it work in our favour. Look, we know there's not going to be gates of 4,000 or 5,000 every week, but it's exactly for that. It's to give these lads a chance. We've been the benefits of a lad who's trained with Scotland under 21s. So look, he was fantastic last night. I don't think York. I think York maybe could have done a little bit more. Look, he's 19 years old. He's not the tallest. Maybe a couple of physical strikers on him from corners or crosses, but I don't think we really did that. So he was allowed to really show how good he was.
I agree with that. Actually, I had a York fan in my mentions on Twitter saying that they didn't feel like they really tested him. And actually, of the 2 goalkeepers, it was the York one who I thought made the mistake for the penalty. I know he wasn't helped by the pass back. So yeah, it's
at the end of the day, though, he's just a shit Rory Watson, isn't he?
Well, I mean that's a very good question, Barry. In terms of for Saturday, the Carlisle game, which Rory do you play?
Oh, that's a question, Max. I think you go back to Watson. I think you have to. Yeah, I think you have to. I mean, if the lad from Leeds is only here for say 7 days or 28 days, I'm not sure. I do believe it was it? I thought it was a 7-day emergency loan, but anyway, it's here for a short period. I do believe the agreement would have been a 1 game. I don't even know if he's still training with us. I'm not quite sure. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. But I think it'd be really harsh on Watson to not get the nod on Saturday. And let's be honest, right, Marco? He's not made a gaff, has he, this season, really?
No. Look, he's been dropped through no fault of his own. It's not for his appearances. It's not for his performances. It's just he's made the mistake of playing for York, which, believe it or not, isn't a crime. So you can't begrudge him. And look, the other Rory, obviously Mahadi, has came in and done fantastic, and the quality's there to see. And I feel you'll see a lot more of him in the years to come. But like I say, I feel Rory Watson's a member of our team. He's here till the end of the season, and I think you've got one of that with the performances he's shown recently.
And yeah, just on the second signing in terms of Westbrook, we've got a comment and a question here from Will Watton, who says, "quote Nothing's been said, but if Rowley is missing due to 5 yellow cards, does Westbrook slot straight in?"
Definitely is missing, by the way. He's definitely had 5 yellows.
Okay, so then the second part of Will's question, then Barra, does Westbrook slot straight in? And he seemed to do pretty well after he came on.
I'd be surprised.
Are you looking more to somebody like maybe Keane Scales or a change of system?
Yeah. Scales is your obvious man. Apologies. Yeah, Scales is your obvious man. Depends tactically what he wants to do. It wouldn't shock me if we see a bit more of a defensive lineup on Saturday against Carlisle. I know we're coming off this incredible run, but Carlisle. Again, I know we're at home, but I wouldn't be massively surprised if you see 3 central midfielders. So maybe it does open the door.
Okay, very very interesting. Thank you very much, Baron. We'll go on to some of the questions here that we've got from supporters. We've got a good one here from Sean Marshall, Marco. He says, "Do any of you now believe we are generally in the hunt for a playoff spot or more? And would our finances and squad be strong enough to compete at that level?"
I've booked Wembley, so think of that what you will.
I think that's quite negative. That
It'd be automatic.
Honestly, mate, I'm telling you right now, February, open top bus store.
Yeah, look, it's a good question, and it's been echoed with Scunthorpe fans at the minute. I think at the start of the season we were all fairly sceptical, but obviously there's one or two who seemed to be in the know that this squad was super. But look, I feel like we're in a really good position. Butler will be the first to keep them grounded, I'm very sure. And it's just one game at a time. Yesterday they beat record, of the longest unbeaten at the start of the season. And look, you wouldn't have his team off to go and do that bit more. So yeah, really good to see. And I think you'll see a lot on social media where people are top calling as contenders, and we are calling us a really good side. And that's been earned. That's not us. That's not by fluke. That's us going to really tough places and putting really big performances in. And with that becomes expectancy. And look, that'll come. But we dealt with it last year. We was expected to win the league or go up. But look, this year's I think it's gone from a free hit to look, we can do something this year, and we're doing really well.
So speaking of big performances, there, let's go for an excellent question from Stephen Howe, talking about Scunthorpe's first goal, Barry. Obviously a close mate of yours involved in it. He says, was Boyce's air shot before Beeston's goal part of a training ground routine?
Absolutely, 100%. He's meant that. He does that 100 times. It comes off 100 times. Yeah, 100% intentional. Is there the call from Beast behind him there?
So obviously, I mean, that goal is right on half time. Particularly as an away side, it's come at an almost perfect time, really. If it's 0-0 at half time, is it a different second half, do you think?
I think it is. I'd be interested to hear what you have to say, Max, because obviously you were right in the heart of it. I've seen the videos of you going absolutely wild behind the goal. What was the vibe at that moment in the game? When we got that goal, did you think, oh, we probably could have just done with that? Or he's like, yeah, this is about right. We're in control. We're probably good value for us 1-0.
I'd say the first one, actually. In the run up to when they won that corner, I think most supporters would go in, get into half time 0-0. That's good. Keep the crowd quiet, and then try hit them on the break in the second half. Obviously we'll come on to discuss the third goal later, but York had more of the ball. I've always been a big believer in it's not how much you have the ball, it's what you do with it, and especially at this level, good set pieces and good quality delivery into the box is a massive deal. As actually we saw for York's goal, ironically, a good cross into the box can be all the difference. So. Look, there probably was a little bit of fortune in it insofar as the air shot, and I think the keeper was unsighted. But we've seen that before, haven't we? Where like the second phase of set pieces, drill a shot, hit the target, and it can be quite difficult for keepers to react. So I think it gave us a big boost. It gave us something to hold on to into the second half, but not just hold on to, use as a platform to build for the second and the third goal.
Can I ask Marco a question? So, Marco, I know you kind of up to date with what's going on at York. I think you got obviously being a Selby lad, you're probably kind of in the know. Was you surprised at Harrison Mail's performance? Because from all the rhetoric, he was the next best thing outside the Football League in terms of goalkeeping.
Yeah, I mean, looking from the outside in, obviously, I think did he get the most clean sheets in the league last season?
Yeah. I mean, he was at fault in the playoffs, wasn't he?
Yes, obviously the Oldham game, but I think those keepers are very much in demand now. The ones that want to take the chances with ball at the feet, it seems to be a fashionable thing. And with that comes mistakes. So look, I don't think he'll be too discouraged. That's why he's on the pitch. He's that ball-playing goalkeeper, which I never thought I'd say, but it's not for me. But it's a position now. We're almost sort of that third centre half. So to see a mistake doesn't surprise me. I know early on last season, him and Watson were actually sort of rotating, and Watson actually had a bit of game time. So that to me says they were a little bit unsure at the time, but obviously we've picked the man. He's had a really good season. But yeah, look, he didn't have the best game yesterday, but I still think he's definitely a quality keeper.
Yeah. I was just going to very quickly add to that quality keepers make mistakes. If you're a Spennymoor fan and you're watching Ross Fitzsimmons, you're probably thinking, "Oh my God, who's this lad?" Whereas I believe he's now been playing for Northampton. He was in the League One Team of the Week last year, I believe. So, look, football can be a fickle business sometimes. So, just glad we came home with the 3 goals and the 3 points. Right, we'll go to another couple of the comments we've had so far, just in terms of the more optimistic mood around before coming back to discuss the second half. Bart and Iron, so Jonathan Rains on Twitter, says, keep those predictions coming, Max. Seems to be working a treat. Best away support I've seen in years. Now, Marco, obviously I'm usually lambasted for being quite negative, but I'm thinking reverse psychology. Do you think it worked?
Yeah, I'm happy for you to take the flak.
I mean, the scores, I am technically 3 for 3.
Yeah.
1-1 against Boreham Wood, 2-0 against Southend, 3-1 against York.
You have to tell that to Coral, the both mates. But yeah, no, look, it's I don't think anybody can really begrudge you for suggesting those scores on another day. I mean, the matches haven't played out like that. The teams that we've came up against actually haven't offered as much as we thought. But we say this every week: if football was played on paper, which is all we've got to go off before the game, then those results you wouldn't have been surprised to see. So, no, we're happy for Matt to be wrong. I was also wrong. I went a little bit negative with 1-1, but again, I think like the rest of the league, us included, we're now sitting up and thinking, no, we can go into these games and win, and we're definitely in the conversation. We're in the mix. Excellent.
So, just Barrow, before we go on to the review you've recorded with Iron fan Ben Maidment, just want to give you a couple of questions / comments we've had on social media. So, one from Callum Brickcliffe saying Ewing and several more need extensions. And then a question from Gary Fogg, and I apologise in advance, Gary, if I'm not quite pronouncing this correctly, but I want this Gary Fogg Chazinski, I'm hoping. He then says, do you think Butler is actively seeking an extension on TSF? Sellers Fleming obviously initially came in on what was a month, is my understanding, but he's been terrific, hasn't he? Another great performance from him last night, and another big goal.
Yeah, he's been exceptional. I'd be very surprised if the club are not actively pursuing an extension on that initial loan. He's been exactly what you want from a sub. And actually, let's be right, Max, it's rare that a sub comes in and hits the ground running. Probably from a striker perspective, I can't remember a striker on a short-term loan having such an impact since Tom Hopper? Genuinely?
Yeah. Look, it's a very fair question. I know it's unusual because he's been at the club before, but no, it's a very good question, Barry.
So yeah, I think they'll be looking at that extension. The question that leads though is what does that mean for players like Joey Dawson? I know he's a completely different type of striker, but the amount of strikers we have in the building, I mean, there's going to be some unhappy top talent because you look at Deckhow, obviously Ty, Whitehall, and Dawson. There's an argument for all 4 of them starting.
And he's not even mentioned Beck, Marco.
As I say, there's an argument for all 4 of them starting.
Well, look, obviously, I mean, there has been talk in terms of a couple of Scunthorpe players potentially going out the door on loan. I think that's sort of the last month to 6 weeks. Eze, obviously on loan from Bolton, hasn't really featured. Same for Carlton, actually, to be honest. Hasn't really featured, certainly not to the extent he did at the back end of last season in the league when he finished really strongly. But look,
Max Brogan.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, firstly, I think back to the fans forum, which you obviously excellently emceed, where Michelle did say that there was a little bit of room in the budget, at which point Andy turned around and jokingly went, right, excellent, I'll get on the phone straight away. So I think that has helped in terms of the goalkeeping situation, little loan from Sellers Fleming. He might not perhaps be so expensive. Westbrook obviously joining until January. So, look, I guess it's a question for them. And also, actually, go on, Marco, you go.
A big shout out, just while we're on that topic, a big shout out to Oliver. Obviously, he's done a few articles you'll see on our social medias, especially this week. I think yesterday's game highlighted perfectly. It was actually writing about how the former players, obviously coming back into the squad. I'm thinking Seller Flemings, and obviously Joey Dawson having an impact.
You tried to pronounce his name 4 times there, and I think you got them all wrong.
I'm very, with Ty, mate. It's like JB, yeah? JB and Ty. Just
I'm very ill. But yeah, I think that article proved perfectly how they're having a really good impact on this team. And yeah, we've not always been blessed with such good substitution to be able to make in a game. So yeah, if you haven't read it, give them a read. It's very good read.
Absolutely, and a big shout out to Ollie for penning the editorial pieces. They've really been terrific. So, they'll be on the Facebook page, the Twitter page.
Right, guys, I'm going to have to disappear, but thank you so much for having me. Can I say on record for the podcast, for the listeners, Max, you're doing an absolutely fantastic job hosting the podcast. I'm very, very jealous and very nervous about my position as permanent host.
I won't be worried. We are bare bones over here.
I think Barrett is suffering from quite a significant case of heat stroke.
Well, as you can see, I'm looking like Phil Brown at the
minute. You're about to get the Peterborough Sports job, right? Go on, Barra. Have fun in the
Butler's going to smack him.
Again, a bit like Alexander did.
Excellent. Right. Well, obviously we've lost Barra temporarily from this podcast, but I'm very, very happy to say that this is a perfect opportunity to show you his season review so far that he's done with Iron fan Ben Maidment.
Well, thank you for joining me today for our customary review of 10 games, or is it 11, or is it 9? It's somewhere thereabouts 10. We've settled on 11 this season, Ben. We'll obviously get you back on after 20-ish games. How do you think it's going so far, Mr. Ben Maidment?
Well, it's definitely exceeded my expectations. An unbelievable start to still be unbeaten after 11 games. Last night, absolutely. I mean, I was on cloud nine after Southend, but after last night, even more so. What a fantastic performance and another fantastic result to keep us on the way up in the right direction.
Before we have a good look at the 11 games so far this season, let's just talk about those last 2 games, because Southend on Saturday, York on Wednesday night, a real coming of age moment for Andy Butler. I mean, I don't think any fans, even the most optimistic of fans, could have predicted those 2 performances away from home back to back.
No, not at all. You go into both of them games going, if we take a point from both of them, then you come away probably delighted. Both really difficult places to go, massive crowds. I think Southend was just over 8,000, and then last night was over 7,000 again. And to put in the performances that we did, sometimes you go away from home and you win them games, and it's a bit of a smash and grab kind of result. But I'd say both of them games we've looked more than comfortable and come away rightly winners.
Who's been the standout player for you then? If I had to, maybe one's a bit ambitious, but if you had to pick 2 or 3, who would you say have been the surprise standout players for you so far?
I think one of the obvious ones has got to be Ollie Woolley. What a player he looks, so comfortable on the ball, so capable in any situation that he gets the ball in the midfield. He can get it in a tight area. He can drop a shoulder. He can knock it off first time. It's been absolutely outstanding. Just gives us a whole different dimension to the game in the middle of the park. Deck Howe as well has come obviously with the profile of a goal scorer. And then he's came in and adapted to life in the National League really, really well. Still been able to get on the score sheet on a number of occasions. I think he's got 5 so far.
6, I think.
6, even better. What he's done amazing coming into the team as well. And then you look at the back 4, although there's not been many clean sheets in there, the back 4, especially Will Evans and Boyce, outstanding every single week. They're putting their bodies on the line, diving around, getting in front of blocks. The game, I think it was Boreham Wood where Will Evans had a game and he was absolutely phenomenal, won pretty much everything. So yeah, shout out to them for you. It's difficult because there's been so many good standouts. We're still unbeaten after 11 games. So yeah.
The Andy Boyce situation's an interesting one, because you're looking at that at the start of the season, and genuinely, when he gets the captaincy, you're thinking, now that's interesting, because he's probably going to play, 10, 15 games? He's been arguably one of our most reliant and influential players.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly the same thoughts when he got the armband. You're thinking, well, he might have to play quite a few games if he's the skipper. But fair play to him. You got to tip your cap to him and say what a job he's done. I think people probably expected us to bring in another centre back maybe at the start of the season. I know that we have strengthened there with Bellahoon, but Boyce wasn't always the first choice last season. There was chops and changes between Coogan and Evans and Coogan and Boyce and different variations of centre back combinations. But them two this season so far have definitely been an absolute standout. So tip your cap to Boise as the skipper. He's adapted really well to that, and he's been phenomenal in his performance as well.
I guess the other position we do have to talk about is the goalkeeper situation. We're 11 league games in, and we have seen 3 different keepers fielded so far this season. What's your analysis of that situation?
It's still quite early in that, isn't it? Well, it's difficult to give a real opinion on Mason. From what I saw in pre-season and the couple of games he has played as the number one. It'll be interesting to see how Butler adjusts his thinking, or if he does adjust his thinking, because I think when Rory's come into the team, Rory's done a really, really good job. He said that Mason was his number one at the start of the season. It'll be really interesting to see if that does still stand when he is fit. I think it'd be really harsh on Rory though, after the performance he has put in. The only criticism I would say is that both of them, you could argue, look like at times they have got an error in them. But on a whole, I think they came under a lot of fire in pre-season and the build up to the first few games. And I think really when either of them's been in goal, they've done a fairly decent job.
If you had to, if I give you your choice, you've got 3 options, all 3 are viable options. So let's say both our keepers are fit. So you can have Mason in goal, you can have Watson in goal, or we can extend the loan for the lad from Leeds. If I give you all 3 options, what would be your ideal scenario, Ben?
I've only seen the lad from Leeds once, so it's too high. Although he was fabulous last night, he put in a really good performance. His distribution was really good, and made some really good saves. There was one particularly in the second half where he made a really good save. So if you're going off just that, you'd probably say him, keep his loan and keep him in the team. But it's difficult just off the back of one game to say that. I think Rory comes in with a reputation of when he came in that really, really poor side, and I think it's quite really unfair to judge him off the back of that because it's one of the worst teams in Scunthorpe United's history. I quite like Rory Watson. When he came in, I thought that he was going to end up taking the number 1 spot eventually, so I believe that Rory will probably nail that down. But it's just going to be interesting to see how Andy Butler put his eggs in the basket of saying Mason's his number 1. Does Mason come back in? I think I personally would probably go with Rory, but it is a difficult conundrum.
I'm just on my phone here, just looking at our games that we've had so far this season, just trying to pick out some big ones. So, I mean, we opened the season obviously with that 2-1 victory away at Tamworth. What was you thinking after that game? Because for me, it's like, wow, we've arrived. This is our level, and we were easily the better team away from home against a team that finished just outside the playoffs last season.
Yeah, well, exactly that. It's kind of in pre-season you judge yourself but you never really get an actual real insight of where you are in pre-season because you'll go away and you can go and beat a league team 3-0. Like that season, we were in the National League and we beat Sheffield United at home. And then we got relegated from the National League. So you don't get the real judge of how pre-season actually is and how you're going to fare in the actual season. When we came away from that, it was one of those where, as you just said, they just missed out on the playoffs last season and we've gone to their home patch and turned them over. So we belong here. So yeah, it was one of those. You go away to a ground, you pick up 3 points on the opening day. There's not much better than that, is there?
Now, another game I've picked out as well, which is maybe is not the obvious one to pick out, but the 3-2 victory away at Sutton for me was a huge game because in that game we've come from behind to take the points, but also the versatility of the performance, done different things at different times. We defended, we got in, we attacked, we looked pretty expansive at times. Really showed Andy Butler's skills and abilities as a manager.
Yeah, it was probably the first time we've seen players play different roles, but of that level, there was a couple of injuries in there. I think Beeston went off, I think Rowley went off, and
You're
I
looking at
could be
what you're looking at Rose at CDM.
exactly, yeah, and he comes in for the last 20, 25 minutes or whatever it was, and gets on the score sheet, and he looked more than capable in the CDM role, much better than last season than when Will Evans was playing in there. But Rose looked more than capable in there as well. So it's nice to see that Butler can really see the profile of player he wants, and he's also adapted for that versatility that if push comes to shove, they can play in them different roles.
Andy Butler, then, what are you thinking? Got to tie him down 4 more years?
Lifetime contract. Um, he's he's done a remarkable job, hasn't he? If you look back at, I know that we go back in time, and you always go back to them periods where you think, oh, he could have got the chop,
Can I say,
and it's
mate? I'm telling you now, we were a defeat, maybe even one defeat away from a change.
you could say we were a half away because Marine, that second half of Marine, if we didn't turn it around, you're thinking, well, maybe that could have been the end. I don't know if it would have been or not, but and then you look at the turnaround, and fair play to him. It shows what a character, what a professional man he is, and how he's come out and gone, I'm still going to stick to my core principles and my core values, but I have got the ability to adapt, which I think at any level you need that.
Right, so I'm going to put you on the spot here, mate. This season, maybe you've kind of adjusted your ambitions, but from where we are right now, what would you take as a success, and what do you expect will happen between now and the end of the season?
Well, honest prediction, if you like, was or what I wanted was just to be above the dreaded dotted line,
Yes.
not the dotted line that we are currently. I came as if we stay up and consolidate this season, we can build in future years and look towards that playoff promotion push. But the way we've started, you hope it progresses. I do feel like there'll be, like there is usually in anybody's season, there will be a blip. Um, I just hope that we have got enough credit in the bank as it is for fans to not get too disillusioned if that blip comes. Um, because we've come up from from two leagues in 2 seasons in the National League North. Before that, we got relegated from the National League. So we've not really been at this level for 3 seasons, if you like, because that side in the National League weren't at that level.
Arguably,
Um,
the side in League Two wouldn't have done much copy.
no, they'd just probably struggled in the North. So it's it's been a while since we've been at the level to compete at this level. Um, so it's just nice to be in that mix from the start of the season. Um, I mean, what are we on now? Is it 27, 28 points? We'll get to 50 points and see where we are. I'm massively sitting on the fence, but we'll get to
25 points we are after 11 games, yeah.
we're halfway there.
We're halfway there. Whoa! Right, last question then, Ben. Our usual. So I'm going to ask you to rate the start so far out of 10.
I remember you ridiculed me last season because
You
we were
went,
top of the league and
yeah,
I gave about a 7.5, but I think
yeah.
that was fair at the time.
You went 7, mate. We were top of the league. Yeah.
Where this season, my expectations are completely different coming into the season. As you can probably tell, I'm still on cloud nine after last night. I feel like
We're massive, mate. We are absolutely massive.
it was such a beautiful, beautiful victory. My expectations came in completely different to last season. I had nine out of 10. It's been an absolutely fantastic. You can't give it 10 because we're not top. So It's been a really, really good start to the season. It's nice to be able to sing that we're invincibles after 11 games. Um, but yeah, a really, really positive start to the season. And it's so nice to be. It's been a long time since we've been overachievers. So it's really nice to come in as a smaller fish than we have been in the last 2 seasons, especially, and go to arguably bigger sides with bigger crowds and turn teams over. It's a nice feeling because we've been in on the other side of that quite a lot in the last 5 years.
Right, thank you very much to Barra there, and thank you very much to Ben as well. Marco, obviously it's been an excellent start to the season so far. We've got an extra question from Andy just on that point, but before I get to that, I just want to discuss the second half. Obviously, I think it was with about 9 minutes to go, it looked like, right, we're going to have to hold on. Can we get the 1-0 win? Obviously, Iron fans hoping that we don't do what we did against Forest Green or Brackley, and can we see it out? Butler makes a change, brings Bellahune onto right back, puts Starbuck onto right wing, which I'm interested in because it definitely wasn't 5 at the back. It was definitely still 4 at the back.
Yeah.
That's happened 2 or 3 times now on both flanks. Actually, I would say we've had it where we've pushed Denton forward. Obviously, he had to go off injured last night, but we were also getting on the right hand side where we're pushing Starbuck forward. What do you make of that as a little tactical twist?
Yeah, well, obviously, at the start of the question, with 9 minutes left, I was thinking, obviously, we watched the Forest Green game together. I was saying, if we keep it 1-0 for as long as possible, it's how late they equalise, not giving them a chance to obviously get the 3 points. And I know it's negative, but that's sort of a mindset I had last night, saying...
And actually, to be fair, we did concede in the 95th minute, but luckily, we were 2-0 up anyway.
Exactly. So I sort of had the same mindset, like saying, if we equalise, can we limit to it's really late and they've not got time to get a winner? And it's a good point. But yeah, regarding obviously Starbuck being out of the wide, when JB comes on, you automatically assume it's a back 5. But obviously Butler stressed, and you could see watching it on the TV. Yeah, Starbuck was playing as a right winger, and it was quite interesting to hear him on Humberside actually. He was talking to Ollie Turner and said Starbuck and Bellahune are the 2 fastest players in the squad. To the point where it's almost like competitive level sprinters. And we've not really seen Starbuck in full flow. I mean, when he won the penalty, that was obviously him full sprint, and he did immensely well.
Oh, absolutely terrifically.
Yeah.
And I actually thought as well, we saw some of that real pace on the break from JB away at Southend, didn't we? When the sort of the space opened up on the right hand side, Southend with his wings back out of position. Yeah,
easily before the injury, you can see the pain. And look, when teams are throwing the kitchen sink, obviously Boyce and Evans, they won't like it. They're not the quickest. They're colossal. They're amazing. But in those last minutes where they've brought everything they've got onto the pitch, including pacey players, strikers, the lot, being able to bring JB on, who's got that versatility, the height and the pace to sort of cover for Evans and Boyce if it goes through or gets through the gaps. I think it's a really good option to have. And here's another one. I think, obviously, we mentioned Denton. I think Horton could maybe come in on Saturday, if depending on...
Horton started the season very well.
Exactly. And again,
until it was a suspension, I really liked Horton at left back, Denton at left wing in front of him.
Yeah, and look, we mentioned Roy Watson, obviously being out of the team through no fault of his own. Horton, I know it was soft and it was silly, but before then he was having a really good season. So, look, we know Denton plays with an injury, a recurring injury, and he's been phenomenal when he's been called upon. But like I said, he put a lot into that game yesterday, so it wouldn't surprise me in such a short turnaround.
I agree, actually. Yeah. I know, as you say, he has been carrying that knock, but I thought Wednesday night was the time you really noticed it. Actually, you could see that he was having to make, and it was brilliant that he did, but he was having to make that extra effort.
Yeah, and he's up against a good player. Obviously, on their right wing, but is it Felix?
Yeah.
I mean, he's like right wing back sort of thing. And I mean, last year, I think he won like player of the month like 3 or 4 times in a season. So look, we're up against some real quality, and I think he dealt with it really well. So yeah,
and it was good. Speaking of the strength in depth, it was good for us that we were able to turn to the bench and go, right, we've got a proper option at left back to bring on, and Horton did excellently.
I tweeted beforehand. I said when my team came out, I said that is a strong bench, and I think it showed. And I really do think that's a big part on why we actually won the game yesterday, that we was able to bring such strength on. We weren't making ourselves weaker. It was like for like. And I know Whitehall weren't like getting taken off when he did, but he really.
But I think Whitehall had gone down with a knock. It really looked like it to me. So sensible, I think, from Butler.
Yeah, he put a big shift in. And look, we were a lot better team with Whitehall in it. But there is a bit, not a shout out, but I thought I was really impressed with their centre back, Fagan Walcott or Fagan.
Yeah, yes, I believe so. Yeah,
yeah. And obviously on the podcast we put the Sofa Score ratings out, and I think he got their best rating with Ollie Pierce, who I wasn't really impressed with.
No, but from neither was I. But from Pierce's perspective, as a striker, you score in a game, you've done your job.
Well, yeah, but I mean, we were sort of playing into our hands. They were going very direct. Boyce and Evans eat that up. But yeah, I think obviously a bad night for them. We were obviously very good, but yeah, I was very impressed with that Fagan walk, and I can see him playing at a better level eventually.
Yeah, absolutely. So, not to go on neggy, but as promised, I do want to get onto the question from Andy Lawley. Sorry, Law T, rather. Sorry, Andy. The glasses and off decoration. He says, I hope it won't happen, but we always have a rough spot. Do you think we'll have one this year?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I know.
At least one. That's how football works.
Let's just come back down to earth. I know it was what was the champ last night? Invincibles. And look, as much as we'd love that, there will be a blip. We will lose a game. But at the minute, it's not looking likely. We're looking fantastic. But the seasons, I think Butler said yesterday when asked about if he was a contender, there's 36, 37 games left. Let's just remember where we're at. Again, it's important that when a defeat or two, or like I said, a little bad patch does come, that we're still there supporting the team. And yeah, look, we're in a really good position, and not just on and off the pitch, but we're doing really well.
Yeah, absolutely. And looking to the second goal, got a question from Ethan Short here that touches on Ewing, who obviously rolled in the second penalty, very cool, very calm. How are you feeling when he stepped up, Marco? Obviously, no Whitehall, no Roberts by that point. I mean, I know that against Boreham Wood, Roberts' penalty was safe. He scored the rebound. It wasn't in the corner, but look, if you score a penalty, it's a good penalty, right?
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking when we actually won the penalty, I watched it with my old man, and I says, "No, White was no. I don't know who takes penalty because I don't think we've got anybody on the pitch who has in a game at that point." So look, Ewing probably the best striker of the ball, probably up there with Cal was one of the best strikers of the ball at that point. But obviously Cal wasn't on the pitch either. So yeah, not surprised to see Ewing take it. And like you said, it wasn't bottom corner, top corner, but like you said, as long as it crosses that line, I don't care.
Absolutely, and as I suspect Barry mentioned on some of the footage, I was right behind the goal, front row, had a brilliant view of the penalty, and as soon as the keeper's gone to his right and Ewing's gone to the keeper's left, you know it's in at that point.
Yeah,
perfect. That brings us. Speaking of Ewing, that brings us nicely onto the question from Ethan Shaw. So thank you very much for Ethan to tweeting us. He says, what's your thoughts on giving longer contracts to Ewing/Butler? I think it's e.g. Ewing/Butler, considering the financial /sustainability side of things. Is it a risk to offer a long contract /more money at this level, or more of a risk to potentially not tie them down and lose them?
I don't think you'll see long contracts. It works for the likes of Chelsea with endless pits of money.
Yeah, but that's a PSR accounting thing, isn't it?
But look, we could offer Ewing as much as we'd want Ewing on a 5-year deal. God forbid he picks up an injury, and we're offering players long term. It doesn't work for us. I could maybe understand Butler, as I think clubs will be taking notice of what he's doing. Obviously, we spoke at the fans forum. Obviously, we joked that there's a little bit more budget if we needed it to bring players in and everything, but he covered playing budget 25% for a promoted team. Normally, when you go up a level, you get a little bit more money.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what Butler's done with his squad is fantastic. And like I said,
look, I think you can very, very easily say that if we finish even even if we finish outside the place, if we finish in the top 10 this season, I think that's a better job than getting us promoted last season.
It's very arguable because, like I say, he's had to cut the cloth accordingly, and he's built a really strong team. So yeah, as much as we would love for long contracts and that stability, again, I get what he's saying. Financially, long term, being able to sell on is something we've not been blessed with, especially in recent years. But I don't think you'll see 3-4 years deals being given out. Not just at us either, in any club in this league, really. It's not a thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And just on Ewing, so obviously when he signed, it was announced as a 1-year deal. The club, certainly within the last sort of few years, have done it where they announce the initial length of the contract, but then there's an option, depending on if the club wants to, if the player plays a certain amount of games, something like that. Wouldn't surprise me at all if Ewing fits into that category potentially. And again, what I would say as well is that he is 22, so we would. If he got to the end of this season and he's out of contract, if it's to an English club, we would be entitled to money for him under the rules of Bosman because he's younger than 24. So yeah, I mean he's had a brilliant start to the season. Now, Marco, obviously we touched on Ollie Pearce a little bit. I think obviously 9 minutes has gone up from the fourth official. Which unfortunately I thought was probably fair cop because there'd been a lot of substitutions. There'd been quite a few injuries and stuff. It's 90 plus 5 when the cross comes in from the right, and really for the first time all night, Pearce gets in between Boyce and JB for a free header from 4 or 5 yards out, and he gives Mahadi no chance in goal. It's 2-1. We've got 4 or 5 minutes to hold on, really. How were you feeling at that point? How brown were your trousers?
I was just about to say shit in my bed. Bringing it up.
What Sir Alex Ferguson would call squeaky bum time.
Yes, it certainly was. And I think, look, the guys, obviously the defenders, will be really disappointed to concede that goal as well. I think it maybe came from actually putting JB into a mix as well, and then probably Boyce or Evans sort of assuming that he'd been picked up because he really did have a lot of time to get that header on target. So yeah, and Butler said he was disappointed with that, but look, a win at York doesn't matter. But yeah, at that point you really are fearing the worst, especially the pattern of this season where we've conceded really late goals in added time. I do agree with you. I think 9 minutes was probably fair with the substitutions. I think Newby for York got an injury in the corner. It took another couple of minutes.
Yeah,
going down, Rowley going down. It was probably fair.
Even Whitehall were down at one point. We made 5 subs. Like, yeah, it's just one of them things, unfortunately, isn't it? Sometimes. And then fast forward to 90 plus 9. Obviously, we've survived a couple of corners. York throwing the kitchen sink out as trying to nick what at that stage would have felt like a very unlikely point. When you were watching it, did you make the same mistake as me? Which is when TSF was given the ball, I make no apologies for the fact, and the lad behind me was doing the same, shouting, "Corner! Corner! Corner!" Aren't we glad he had better ideas?
Yeah, 100%. And I think anybody who's watched Scunthorpe for years and know what we normally do, I'm thinking of a Brackley game where we should have probably ran it out wide or just cleared our lines and then conceded later on. But yeah, no, a massive shout out from me. I know I tweeted about it. Joe Rowley carrying that knock. Obviously, he's got a bit of time to recover now with that suspension. But the ball to pick Fleming out, it was
magnificent.
Yeah, it was the touch to bring it down, and then just the composure to not just boot it to the corner or panic, the turn, and then just it was nonchalantly just rolling it through to Silas Fleming. So I mean, for as good as the goal was, and it was fantastic, Rowley deserved that assist. So yeah, Fleming. But yeah, we're speaking about him regularly now. Obviously, we mentioned the articles. He's having a really good impact, and he's someone I definitely think we could be looking at getting for a longer period of time because it works for all parties. Let's be honest, he's not going to be starting in the Championship. Hull City's got obviously Ollie McBurney, just off the top of my head, Joe Geldart. They've got like serious talent. So you wouldn't think he's in Hull plans, and for him to be playing locally, getting game time, scoring goals, it works for everyone. And like you said, it won't be the biggest of of contracts. So yeah, I really do hope we see that getting extended because I think it's been phenomenal. And I was thinking yesterday we had Mo Federa in that position and that sort of role last year, and I think he's twice the player.
Well, I think he's more of a striker, isn't he?
Yeah, we're playing sort of as a position now when it's sort of a wing forward.
Yeah.
Because you sort of have your big number 9 or your target man, and then those who maybe literally, even if a little bit smaller, yeah, you're playing wing forward. Like Howard have probably come to the club thinking he's going to be playing up front. But look, he's settled into that wing forward role, so is Sellers Fleming. So yeah, it works for us.
Yeah, and actually, I think as well, but then the tactical versatility has helped. You know, when in games or really starting on the season, you know, how and when we've gone to 2 up top, for example, you know, we've maybe gone to a diamond. I think the Boreham Wood game, and actually getting how closer to the central areas really worked. But you could see Sellers Fleming's sort of striker instincts.
Yeah, 100%.
But inside, roll the 2 defenders, and just sort of, as you say, nonchalantly rolled it past the York keeper who didn't have anything to do. Yeah. Wheeled away in celebration, 3 points. Thank you very much.
And he deserves it. That's a young lad playing with no fear and confidence, and it's running. It's not just him; it's running through the team at the minute. So yeah, long may it continue on to Saturday.
Excellent. And before we go on to Saturday, just a comment from Jack M on Twitter, which I think touched on the chance that you were talking about earlier. He asks, "Are we going to win the league?" Yes, we are. Hashtag Invincibles, dancing emoji. So thank you very much for that, Jack. Marco, are then looking forward to the Carlisle game. Now, obviously Carlisle were amongst, I think, pretty much everybody's pre-season picks to be in and around the mix for the playoffs at the very least. They did, however, take a bit of a humping against York, 5-0, no less. Seems like there's going to be a big crowd, 5:30 kickoff. How do you think both sides will handle the occasion?
Yeah, it's a big one, isn't it? Like you said, Carlisle probably, again, a huge budget compared to ourselves. Obviously, Mark Hughes at the helm. So yeah, these are the games that we wanted. We got promoted. Look, we've been in National League North for a couple of seasons, and for us, I love Warrington away as much as the next guy. But
no.
but these games, especially at Glanford Park, full house, seeing fans in the away end will be great to see.
Yeah, they've sold quite a good few, haven't they? Always a very well supported side away from home, Carlisle.
They're getting good crowds at home as well. I think for the first game of the season we had over 8,000, so which says the level we're at and the teams that we're competing with. So yeah, it's going to be a really good game. It's on the telly. 5:30 kickoff. I'm sure everyone will be plenty merry to go with the atmosphere from last night.
Bit of self-projection there. I think I like it.
Well, that's if I make it with this serious man flu. But yeah, no. Look, it's a really big occasion. I'm fed up of saying it. I'm fed up of repeating myself. It's one of them where it will test us, much like York, much like Southend, much like Forest Green. And I think we're in a really good opportunity where we do have that depth. Obviously, playing on a Wednesday, you've got one less day recovery. I'm thinking, obviously, Westbrook coming in probably won't have trained with us. So I'd be very surprised to see him come in. I think it maybe will be Scales. But Westbrook on paper, I mean, looking back at his record, looks a very good signing. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him starting after a week or so training. And I think that looks like a really good, promising loan. Yeah, no, I'm positive. I'm positive for Saturday, and they will be too. Obviously, they won yesterday, didn't they? But to see that they can capitulate like they did at York, I think we've got to be up for it.
Yeah. So I'm just going back over the fixtures. So obviously, we've played Forest Green Saturday the 13th. Then it's Tuesday against Leeds under 21s. Saturday against Truro. Wednesday against Boreham Wood. Saturday against Southend. Wednesday against York. Then coming up, we've got Saturday against Carlisle. Tuesday against Morecambe. Saturday, Kings Lynn at home in the FA Cup. Games really, really, really come in thick and fast, which when you're in great form and you stack points on the board quickly, perfect. Do you think, and if so, how many, changes Butler might make for the game against Carlisle?
I think obviously he'll be forced with a rolling one. Obviously, we mentioned Denton. I think that's maybe 2.
Keeper 3.
Keeper probably 3. That's it. Like I said, I think Rory will be in there.
I like it.
So I think minimum 3. Obviously, Whitehall picked up. It looked like he maybe picked up a little knock. But the thing is with Butler, if you're not 100% fit, you're not playing. It's that simple, and you can see that from the squad.
And especially when you've then got another game on the Tuesday,
Yeah,
you know.
Exactly. And the depth, it's not fair to play a player 90% fit when we've got such good players waiting in the wings, which is a really good problem to have. So I think, 3 is a minimum. Obviously, we said never change a winning team, but like I said, I think we'll sort of have our hands, but we'll have to do that. So, yeah. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. And like I say, it's nice having the confidence that making these changes, I don't think we get weaker, possibly barring Rowley. So yeah, it'll be an interesting game, and I'm looking forward to it.
Excellent. Right then. So just as we sort of work our way to a close on another episode of the Iron Hour podcast, Marco, give me a score prediction for the Carlisle game.
2-0 Iron.
Oh, he's feeling confident. I like it. I mean, it's 3rd versus 4th. Obviously, we do have a couple of games in hand on Carlisle, but they're up there for a reason. They've been getting 2 points a game, notwithstanding their defeat to York. So you're going to go for 2-0.
What we offer?
I'm going to do a Barra, and I actually think I could see a bit of a 0-0. In terms of, I think of Carlisle's game against York and them going away from home. I think when you sometimes bounce back and you go, right, we didn't defend acceptably in that game. That's changing, and especially if we're having to potentially make 3 or 4 changes, we've been very consistently playing Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, Wednesday, and perhaps unlike the Boreham Wood game, where both sides didn't settle for the point, right up until the death against Boreham Wood, both sides were still going for the win. I wonder if this is the kind of a game where, with 15 minutes to go, if it is 0-0 or 1-1, both sides sort of go, we can live with this. So look, we'll see. But yeah, I'll go for 0-0.
0-0. You've had hundreds of people listening here waiting for you to say the line. Say the line. We're waiting for Max's negative prediction.
Well, look, I would genuinely say that I do fancy us. I would always fancy us more at home. I think back to our home form last season, compared with the fact that away from home we lost 7 games away from home last season. And look, actually, if anybody watches Gareth Ironarmy's fan reaction video, it's worth watching because one of the lads who was chatting to was absolutely right. I was collared in the pub before the game, and somebody's going, negative, you've gone for 3-1. And I went, no, right, it's reverse psychology. I said 2-0 against Southend, and we won 2-0. It'll be the same tonight. And even the stop clock is right twice a season. So yeah, we'll see on that front. Speaking of being right twice a season, big shout out to the fact that we are again an award nominated podcast, aren't we, Marco?
Yeah, again, obviously little plug there, but yeah, if you look on our socials, again, I'll put it up when we put the podcast on. The messages and support when I've been at games, seeing people saying that voted for us, it really does go a long way. We really do appreciate it. We're not expect we're much like Scunthorpe at the start of the season. We'll take it. We'll take staying up. Yeah, look, hopefully we can surprise a few like the team currently, and maybe get, I don't know if it's a league table if you get near the top, but yeah, look, just to show, if you could show your appreciation by chucking us a vote, it's really easy. And yeah, we really do appreciate it. So just to be awarded, nominated is fantastic. So yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So the Football Content Awards, some absolute massive hitters there. In this category, best in non-league. Much like the top end of the National League, it looks very, very competitive. I don't think we're expecting to get whatever the equivalent is of 100 points, which I suspect is how many you might need to win the National League this season. But yeah, do check out our Twitter, our Facebook, and even our Instagram as well. Big shout out to Becky for running that. To give us a vote if you haven't done so already. And much like the season, Marco will get to put his glad rags on. He gets to go for a posh do up at Ellen Road, and I won't be there, so we might actually win. You never know.
Well, if there's one thing that goes hand in hand, it's Italians winning trophies. So,
Well, if this was the equivalent of the World Cup, you wouldn't have even qualified.
I'm just about to say, they won't let me in.
Right, on that cheery, not at all pro-Italian note, thank you very much for everyone for tuning in. Obviously, we've got a big week coming up with the FPL just before the international break. So sorry for the fact that we've run out of time tonight. We haven't been able to bring you an update, but we do nonetheless want to give out a really big shout out to the sponsor of our FPL, the George Inn in Barton. I know there's a lot of Scunny fans who do live in Barton, who do like popping in there for a pint and something to eat. And the prize they've very kindly put up, Marco, I believe, is for the winner.
Bar tab, and I've been looking online at Premier League fantasy football hints and tips, and only when the bar tab got put as a prize, and I'm struggling. I really am struggling. It's last week I had 2 players both get red cards.
Yep,
that's unheard of.
I know. So, and even this week I've had Cucurella, drop an absolute bomb. So yeah. Chelsea losing to Brighton let me down hard, I'm afraid.
Yeah, just trust your gut, guys. There's no such thing as hints and tips, is what I found out.
Absolutely.
£100 bar tab.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, I think given the George's quite reasonable prices, you could do some serious damage with £100 bar tab. So yeah, massive. I'm sure you have already. So massive shout out to the George in the Bar, and we'll make sure that we give an even more sort of in-depth look forward and back on the FPL next week. And yeah, thank you very much for everybody for tuning in and watching us, listening to us, however you get your podcast, Spotify, YouTube, wherever else it might be. And yeah, thanks to Baron for joining us from the good old US of A. We hope Gareth gets his electricity sorted, and we hope that Marco manages to kick off the man flu soon. And perhaps most importantly of all, we hope for another good performance and a good result against Carlisle on Saturday. Up the iron.
Up the iron.